Hello, 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 everyone. We are back with 31 Days of Healthy Relationship Tips. I am Sharon J. Lawrence, your host for the entire month of December. Today is day 26, and I am super hyped because I am shocked that I even made it this long. So I'm excited that people are getting this free information, but life-changing information. Um, and I'm just super excited because today I get to kick this with Brandon Johnson. How are you,
Hey,
sir?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much for saying yes
Of course. Of
when I
course.
wasn't even sure what this was going to look like. But it has turned out to be an amazing thing. And so I'm so grateful for you
Of course. Yeah,
for saying yes and for joining for this evening. So thank you again.
of course, no problem.
So we have folks that are already joining in. Hey, Dr. Kiba and Dr. Vicky T. Sapp, what's up? And when we say Vicky name, we have to say Dr. Vicky T. Sapp. We say her whole name. So
I'm with it.
yes. And so they've already joined us. We have a couple other people. I can't see who you are. So holler at me and Brandon so we can say hi to you. And I'm super excited. So Brandon, tell the people who you are, what it is that you do, and where you are located.
Sure. So, hey, Facebook world. So I'm Brandon Johnson. I work at SAMHSA, which is Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration, as a part of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. I've been there for 3 years next month. I work particularly in suicide prevention. I've been in that field for 7 years now. So I started as the director of suicide and violence prevention in the state of Maryland, moved on to SAMHSA. And so I work with federal grants that are awarded to states, tribes, and territories on suicide prevention, primarily youth suicide prevention. I also lead a national initiative to get faith communities engaged in suicide
Mm-hmm.
prevention. And so we work on that year round. We have a national weekend of prayer that we do to have faith communities pray for people who've been impacted by suicide, suicide loss, suicide attempt, suicide thought. And so I also serve, particularly in my agency, as a subject matter expert on the intersection of faith and suicide prevention and mental health, and also African American community, especially young children in suicide. So that's a bit
Wow.
about me. I have my two children and my wife who are upstairs. So if you see a child run down here, they're you guys already know that they're happy with their Christmas stuff. So they may run out and show me something. But other than that, that's really me in a nutshell.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Now, did y'all get all that? Because Brandon is like the real deal. And you've been in this field for, you said 7 years.
7 years. Yeah.
So you guys have it. I mean, my mentor, Dr. Vicky T. Sapp, used to say the first year you learn your job. The second year you just
Mm-hmm.
kind of do it on automatic because it's just what you do. But your third year,
Right.
you can actually start telling people what it is that you do. Like it makes sense to
Right.
you. But
Right.
when you get 7 years in, you're like, let me read this off to you. And so I got this. I got this. And this is what I do. And this is who I am. And so I'm like, go, Brandon. Because it shows the level of impact that you're actually making, and it's been long
Thank
term
you.
for you. So this is truly awesome. And we have some other clinicians on. Mrs. Alexis Jones is watching. She's a licensed clinical social worker who is in private practice. She was on Sunday.
Cool.
No, Monday. Help me out, Lexi. I mixed my days up. We 26 days in. So, all right. So let's get this train moving, Brandon, because we have some notes. I'm gonna try and work with two phones. The topic tonight is, do you have patience with yourself? And we know that the main focus this week is having a healthy relationship with yourself. We're
Right.
like I said all week, we're good at connecting to other people, but we're not so good at connecting to ourselves. And we're hoping that by tonight, with the information that you have heard, that you're starting to come around the bend,
Mhm.
and you're making that connection and say, okay, I do need to do something different so that I can treat myself better. I can speak to myself better. I can handle things better. But primarily focusing on how do you have that relationship with yourself outside and independent of other people's opinions and thoughts
Mhm.
and or their influence. And so Brandon's going to help us continue this discussion tonight. So I hope that you're ready. So, Brandon, your focus tonight is about patience. Can you talk about what that's all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are about six days away, 5 6 days away from a new decade.
Yes.
Even beyond a new year, we're about to hit 2020. We're about to go into this new season, this unknown season. Everybody is embarking kind of on this thing, this journey together. And so part
Mm-hmm.
of it traditionally is what happens at the end of every year is that
Mm-hmm.
we all sit down and reflect, and social media tells us that we're supposed to, and we get down and we're like, all right, what was this year for me, right? What How did it go? Did I hit all of my goals? Am
Mm-hmm.
I in a place that I'm comfortable with? Do I feel good about where I am? Have I done the things that I said I was going to do? um, where do I want to go next year?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, this is something that we do typically every year. And so now I've been seeing more and more posts about, what has this last 10 years been for me? Like, which is a really tough
Mm-hmm.
question
Mm-hmm.
for anybody to ask of anybody, let alone ourselves. And so as we embark on this, in this new year, moving into 2020, as we do this assessment, one of the things that typically happens is that as we do this assessment, we also start to look at our mistakes or our shortcomings or things that we set out for to be a goal, whether it be in 2019 or
Mm-hmm.
2009, apparently, since we're looking at the whole decade.
Yeah.
And we start to look at these things and break down our years, and it turns into kind of an experience where we look at the things that didn't go right, the
Right.
things that we didn't accomplish, the goals that we set out to do that we didn't reach. And we've gotten to this point where we're like, hey, like, I'm not where I said I was going to be.
Right.
All the goals haven't been accomplished. You may have not gotten the new house, the new car, the new job,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it may be. And then typically is that many of us, and myself included in years past, we get to this point where we're very critical of ourselves
Mm.
and where we think we could have been had we done every single possible thing right.
Right.
Like, if I had, not done this one thing this one day in, this part of the year or this part of the decade, I could be set up here. And so this is one of the things that I think in terms of like talking about self and how we engage with self, really thinking about our positive self-talk and our
Mm-hmm.
affirmations, and knowing where we are as a person and how we where we've gotten to, and where situations are,
Mm-hmm.
and really being able to give ourselves the patience and the grace that we deserve.
Right.
One of the things that is so interesting is that so many of us are really good at giving grace to other people. If
Mm-hmm.
people are just like, this is what happened, I hit a hard time, I made these mistakes, like, I've done this thing wrong. And,
Right.
and many of us are very equipped with that empathetic nature to just be like, hey, it's okay. You
Mm-hmm.
messed up, you stumbled, you hit this, and you've hit this bump, and you can recover. But when it comes to us, it's just like, dang it, if I had not done that stupid thing.
You knew better.
Right, you knew better. You know better. Your mom and them ain't teach you to be like this. Like, you know how to do these things. And so
Better.
we don't provide ourselves with the same grace that we do other people. And then
No.
we start to internalize things about ourselves that aren't
Mm.
true and that we would never tell another person.
Right.
We would never tell a person, well, you know better. You should, you shouldn't have
Mm.
done that. And that's really what you get. And so we get to this point of we start to internalize these things. And the other piece of it is
Mm.
because of, just how we communicate now, we start to compare ourselves with other people.
Yeah.
We go instantly
Okay.
to, what somebody else has accomplished. And, this person was able to get this degree or move into
Mm.
this place and get this job. And so as we continue to compare ourselves, I mean, we start out with really internalizing some of the things that we, feel about how things have gone, even though many things are situational, not personal.
Right. Right.
So you can handle a situation wrong and it doesn't necessarily reflect you as a person. And then once we do that, we kind of move into, comparing ourselves to other people. And so this is, kind of where where many of us slip up. And there are certain
Mm-hmm.
things that we can do and with our thinking to move away from this, to give
Mm-hmm.
ourselves that grace and that patience so we can assess things for what they are and then move into a better space as we continue to go into 2020.
Yeah. As you were talking, it made me think of something you mentioned earlier when we were communicating, and that is the fact that people are beating themselves up.
Right.
And they're taking themselves through that process. And I think that that's one of the most difficult things to get through with folks is that they beat themselves up so bad that seeing the positive is such a challenge.
Right.
But like you said,
Right.
we can see the grace or extend the grace for other people. But even when it comes to being optimistic, we don't even know how to come around to
Right.
say, okay, I can see the other side of that. It takes a lot more work with us.
Absolutely.
Um, so I think patience is necessary. But if you can go a little bit further into after you beat yourself up, because we gonna do it, right? I wish we
Absolutely.
can tell people not to, because we try to do that, but
Right.
I think it's just kind of ingrained in us at that point. But like you said, try to do something different. So can you talk a little bit more about what the other side looks like? Maybe it can encourage someone to say, maybe I am being too hard on myself.
Absolutely. So there are a few things that, in talking to people that I try to encourage people to do. One is to really set reasonable expectations for yourself. Like I said, many times we think about so many things that we can do, and everybody has so many things that they want to tackle all at once. One is to set those realistic expectations. If there are certain things that you want to do, whether it be buying a house or getting a job, there's so many little steps that have to take place first. And think about some of those, and think about some of the little steps and things that you can take
Mm-hmm.
to really get to that goal that you can check off. So if your big
Right.
goal is to get the job, like think through, I'm going to get my resume looked at, by somebody professional. I'm going to think
Mm-hmm.
through some of the things that I've done in my positions that may be good in another, in another space. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just going to one day, I'm just going to sit down and just play with Google, right?
Right.
I'm going to look at different places. I'm going to figure out where I could go, and not just say
Mm-hmm.
like, I have to get a job by this point, and then just set the goal and to do the small pieces, and then the larger piece will come, and the larger
Mm-hmm.
piece will get there in time.
Mm.
Another thing that I tell people a lot, and many of my friends, my family, they know this about me, is to really celebrate the small victories,
Mm.
right? So whenever like there's a small thing that you want to accomplish, like as we set these little goals and things up, and we say we're going to take care of this, and once you start to do those things, if you're on your
Mm-hmm.
way to, you want to do home ownership and you pay off a credit card that went off, celebrate. It doesn't have to be money. I'm not going to say
Right.
pay off the credit card and then like spend the money,
Go
but
for a walk, reflect
right.
on not doing that again.
Absolutely, absolutely. There are certain things that that we can do to really give ourselves some of those spaces. For me, it's just like, there are so many different priorities I have and so many different things kind of moving at once that I
Mm.
say everything like today to
Mm-hmm.
celebrate the things that have been happening. I'm clearing my calendar.
Mm.
I'm going to clear it. I'm going to spend it with the wife and kids.
Right.
I'm not going to open up my work laptop. I'm not going to do any of those things. I'm just going to sit down and just do whatever I want to do for that day. And like I said, it may just be I've been putting off, reading this book or watching this movie or
Mm-hmm.
listening to this CD, and taking those things and making an effort to go, I'm going to congratulate myself. I don't need
Wow.
it to be a group thing.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to involve a group of people. No one has to pat me
Mm.
on my back. I will pat myself on the back
Right.
and take that and then internalize it, right? That I've done something that I set out to do, whether it be
Yes.
just a stepping stone to the bigger thing.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to do that is definitely a major thing that I tell folks as well. And so, and the other thing, I mentioned them earlier, but having those positive affirmations about yourself, and looking in the mirror and telling yourself that, that you're capable, that you're strong, that you're empowered.
Mm.
There's been research that these things are effective.
Mm-hmm.
So take that time to, to deal with self. If if you're a person of faith, take that time to, just to pray and reflect and just think through like all the good things that have happened
Right.
in a day. And I
Right.
know there's many things that say, if you take at the end of the day, think of three things that are positive that happened in
Mm-hmm.
that day. Take those, reflect on those, think about those right
Mm-hmm.
before you go to sleep, that it energizes you for the next day.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
those are some of the key things that I think in having those. I think too, especially with the celebrating piece, we don't think about those small victories a lot because we're so focused on the big end goal. And then you start to kind of think through of like, oh, like this has been a good stretch. Like
Right.
this has been good. Like I'm not there, but I'm on my way there.
Right.
And so that kind of can invigorate you to get the rest of the goals done, and also give yourself the patience to go, like, I'm doing this thing. Like I
Mm-hmm.
am moving forward. I'm setting out realistic goals, and I'm getting closer to those goals as I move forward.
Mm-hmm. So seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and also being able to say, "Good job for the progress that you have made thus
Right.
far," and not putting all the pressure on yourself that everything needs to be done at that
Right.
one particular time. So this is good information. I hope you guys are getting this. Again, free 99. You can't beat this. We have quite a few people joining us. Paul is watching from Ghana.
Hey,
Hey.
hey, hey, brother.
um, Darcy is somewhere in the mountains, probably Colorado. Miss Ann Dillard is watching. Michelle, my God baby's mommy, is watching. And who else do we have? Candy Carter is watching out of Baltimore. Kia James, Prince George's County. She is one of the relationship boosters. If you are not familiar with her, Keandria. Kiki Willis is watching. She was speaking last week on friendships. And so this is good. Mrs. Jones says, you are preaching. And so this is good information. And then Ann also said, encourage yourself. She says, when she was growing up, focusing so much on self was considered self-centered and vain. Has that changed?
Yeah.
Like now, yeah, that's a different type of focusing on self, right? We know about that.
Right.
That's called conceited or self-absorbed, but we're talking about focusing on self from that whole mindset of having a relationship with yourself that's healthy and
Right.
that is reinforced with encouragement and strength. And like you said, you didn't say this in particularly, but gratitude. And we
Right.
know gratitude has the ability to reduce anxiety and depression when it's put into use every day, when it's consistently used. And when you use that example of talking about three things in the evening, that's a lot of stuff that I have in my gratitude journal, because I tell people,
Right.
if you journal in the evening, go ahead and do that data dump.
Right.
But if you then end that entry with something that you are grateful for, you're most
Absolutely.
likely going to sleep better. Like you said,
Yep.
wake up more rejuvenated and ready to tackle the day. But if
Absolutely.
you go to bed complaining, you won't wake
You're
up
gonna wake up
angry,
mad.
angry,
Absolutely.
angry.
Absolutely.
And so this is good. Dr. Candace P. Lovett is watching. Hey, Dr. Candace. She's down in Georgia. And so we have people from all over. Thank you so much for watching. And please share so that others can tune in. Okay, so we're more than halfway done, Brandon. See, it goes quick.
Right.
So let's continue this. What are some things that, either I haven't asked or that is still pressing for you that you feel like you need to share with the people that are watching and for those who may watch on the replay?
So I think one thing would be also good to address is the societal norms that we find ourselves in now. I think another piece to this, and why people, when we talk about like having patience with ourselves, is that there is a societal norm now around the appearance of being busy, right? To always be doing something, to have something to work on, something that you're doing. There's a big push now for entrepreneurship, that
Mm-hmm.
like everybody should have a
Right.
side business, their own thing to have ownership with, which I totally am all for. But I think that there's this setup of, if we're not doing 20 things in a day, to get ourselves to some point that we all need to be at because society tells us we need to be at, then if we don't get there, there's this point of these thoughts, these depressive thoughts and episodes can kind of creep in. The comparisons get a little sharper. We start to internalize these things because we're not getting to where other people say that we should be. And so as a part of that, I think definitely being able to check in with self without having the comparison to what we feel society wants us to do. Like, I know for me, entrepreneurship is not where I am right now.
Right.
Skills
Right.
isn't there because
Right.
I'll have something glorious and the budget will fail because money and getting those budgets is not necessarily in my gift range now.
Okay.
So,
Okay. He
now,
said now.
so
That's what he said. He said right now.
right,
So
but now.
right.
But as a part of that, like we feel like we have to be busy. We have to be
Mm-hmm.
doing something. We have to spend our time doing something or setting us up for something bigger. And we don't take the time just to simply rest, just to simply give our brain enough time to think through, other things that don't require our attention, to think through how we're feeling, to check in with our bodies, also to think through how we're really feeling. Sometimes we're so in go mode because this is what we've been programmed to do that we don't know that, like, we don't feel well, that there's something bothering us physically, or the appearance of of something physical that really could be bothering us for a while, but we haven't taken the time to rest and check in with self. Or by the time you get to the point where you are able to rest, things have gotten out of control. Like, things have mounted up. You really don't feel well, you sleep, you're more prone to illness because you're not resting and getting in that time. The body needs time to recharge as well. And so we kind of give this illusion of, if you're busy and working, 24/7, like you're doing the right thing. And then at a certain point, your body will slow you down. And so it's good for us, when we can, to check in with ourselves before that point, so we can know when to, I need a break today.
Right.
I gotta use sick leave today. And folks, I also agree, like, use that time, like use that mental health day, like take that time to recuperate and just sometimes just do nothing. Like, give your time, give your body and your mind time to refresh, to kind of rejuvenate and get yourself prepared for whatever comes next.
Very true. This is good information. I think it's important that even if you look at Sherelle Moore Tucker mentioned earlier this week, the importance of even taking small breaks throughout the day. So maybe you can't get that day off this week, but maybe taking a 20-minute, 30-minute break throughout the day, every day, really can help you reset if you just pause. I agree 100% with you. I think we have this mindset that the more you're doing, that you must be productive and that, it's okay. And we're not robots. And that's something else she had mentioned. She said, we've gotten so used to being humans doing that we have forgotten to be human beings.
Right.
And when she said it, I was like, whoa. And so you're describing exactly that. And I think we're missing that connection with ourselves.
Right.
So as you break that down, that's what that says. We need to connect with ourselves and pay attention to what our body is actually telling us. Or why get to that point? That's what I'm hearing you say. Why even get to that point? Why don't you go ahead and think ahead and be nice to your body?
Right.
So
you get one.
Yeah. You don't get to take this back and get a new coat during the winter. Like, excuse me, Macy's, can I have a new body today? No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
And so this is very good information. I hope you guys are getting it. If you have any questions, please put them in the comment section. We only have a few more minutes, and I want to make sure that I answer any questions. Miss Ann says, don't I know it? Busy doesn't mean productive. And Alexis Jones says, that is good. And so people are truly chiming in. I appreciate you all for just checking in with us and letting us see that you are with us this evening. But let us know if you have any questions or comments. We want to hear from you. And remember to share. Okay, so Brandon, any last minute tips on how to bring all this together so that the people can walk away with a simple list of this is how I'm walking into 2020, not as a resolution, but
Right.
as a life changing um, technique or task.
Sure, sure. So I would say as we, go into this new year and decade, one, I would say, or again, just to make sure to set those realistic goals, think through how to get to, the steps in between, how to get to where you want to go. Being patient with yourself in terms of what's happening to get to those goals.
Mm-hmm.
So when things don't necessarily go as planned, again, give yourself credit for the determination to set goals and the little goals that you accomplished along the way. Take the time to celebrate those things and congratulate yourself and think through the little things that you were able to do. Another piece I would say too, as we go into 2020, remember to set those boundaries so you can take care of yourself. If there are some things, I say the most powerful thing that we have in our vocabulary is
Mm-hmm.
no, or not this
Yes.
time, or I can't do it this time. And that really kind of gives yourself the patience and the opportunity to really reflect on self, take inventory of where you are, and to make sure that we take care of our bodies as well. So I would definitely, keep those boundaries in hand as well. And as we move into 2020, we can think through and dwell on all the things that that we didn't accomplish. Just set a plan for those things that you really want. Think about
Mm-hmm.
it, pray about it if you're a person of faith,
Mm-hmm.
and set a plan to move forward with those in 2020. We can dwell on what didn't happen, but have the patience with ourselves to know that there is no timetable on success. There is no marker for success that we all have to reach.
Mm-hmm.
Success looks different to everybody. Goals get accomplished at different times. So give
Mm-hmm.
yourself the grace to say, hey, I didn't get it when I said I wanted to get it,
Right.
but maybe it was avoiding, a misstep, that you didn't do it when you wanted to do it. And then if it's
Mm-hmm.
something that you still want to do, check in
Mm-hmm.
with yourself and think through if it's something you still want to do, put it back on your goal list for
That's right.
2020 and you'll be able to knock it out. But give yourself the grace, the time to make mistakes and account for mistakes too within that, within
Mm-hmm.
your plan for 2020 because things will happen. Life is
Yes.
life. A good curveball is a good curveball. Sometimes if you're a person of faith, God may say, put this on the back burner. I need you to do this.
Mm-hmm.
When that comes, you want to be able to give yourself the grace to go, okay, I can do this.
That's
I'll
right.
move this, to the back burner and I'll move in this direction. So just understand
Absolutely.
that those things happen and
Mm-hmm.
they happen with each and every person, no matter what social media tells you.
Mm-hmm.
So give yourself that patience, give yourself that understanding that you would award to other people. You're encouraging them. Take the time to encourage yourself as well.
Mm-hmm. I hope y'all got that. I literally was trying to type in every single tip that you gave. I think I covered them all. If you all think I covered them all, please send me some hearts. Let me know I got them all. I see y'all. Y'all still with us. Y'all hanging in there. So thank you. But let me see those hearts. Let me know you with us. Brandon, thank you so much. Again, I can't say it enough. Thank you. This
Thanks
was
for having me.
amazing. The information. Um, Everybody has something different to say this week, but you all are on the same wavelength. And I think that that's powerful. Thank you. I see the hearts. Keep them coming. um, but before we go, Brandon, tell the people if you have any upcoming events, like what's next for you and how they can connect with you, connect with you on social media.
Sure. So there is an event coming up if you're in the Baltimore area on January 11th at 4:45 p.m. We're going to be lighting up City Hall green. So I work with a nonprofit organization called the Green Heart Movement, which is green for mental health awareness. And that is taking place at City Hall, the War Memorial Plaza, right outside City Hall in Baltimore at 4:45. I don't want to mess up the time.
Okay.
4:45.
Got it.
We'll be lighting up City Hall. The dome will be lit up green in honor of mental health awareness. Councilman Brandon Scott will be there to give some remarks. Colleen Diana will be there as well. She is the CEO and founder of the Green Hearts movement. And so I'll be there. I may say a few words. And so we're going to be doing that on January 11th if you're in the Baltimore area. Outside of that, if you want to get connected with me on Facebook, it's Brandon J. Johnson, but there are like 20,000 of us on Facebook. If you
Okay.
find me, just look for my picture. I'm there. And on Instagram, I am at Brand BRANJ Johnson on Instagram. That's my professional page.
Brand Johnson.
Brand J Johnson.
Brand J Johnson. Got it.
On Instagram. I
Got
would
it.
love to connect with you all.
All right. So you guys have it. I put all of his information in there, what's coming up next for him, and all of the tips that he gave in the very end, and any comments throughout this segment. So we appreciate you again for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow with Dr. Tricia Lynn Hilliard, who will be joining me. And then this week is going to be closed out by Dr. Kiba Rogers. So I am super excited. Thank you again, Brandon, for joining me.
Of course, anytime.
All right, guys, and we'll see you tomorrow.